All right, all right. So Megan Fisher is our guest today. Megan, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I appreciate you being on. I've been watching you with your career here at Family First Life, and you're killing it. And I just want, know you have a lot that you could share that can benefit the agency. So appreciate you taking some time out to be on and pour into the 30-something agents we have on the call. So before we even jump into some questions that I have for you, kind of introduce yourself, give them a little bit of your background, pre-FFL, when you got started, and just kind of what you've done so far since you've been here.
Yeah, so I mean, I tell this story all the time. I moved from Chicago to Atlanta from a really bad heartbreak. I didn't know what I was going to do. My cousin owns a farm up in North Georgia and said, Megan, why don't you come help me start my business, move to the farm? I was like, okay, sure, why not? I got to get out of Chicago. So I packed up and I moved to Georgia. No income, left my job, no income, no security, no nothing, and realized a couple months after I moved to the farm, I don't know if you guys can tell, but I am not a farmer. It's like not something that I was gonna do. There was goat poop everywhere all the time, and it was just not my thing. And I said, all right, I got to do something else. And really, truly, the thought of having a boss made me want to throw up. I couldn't fathom going back to a job where I had to either clock in and out or go to an office or sit at a desk or report to someone else. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew it wasn't going to be that. And I can't remember. People ask me all the time, how did you find Family First Life? It was probably on a job board, to be honest, like Career Builder or something like that. I had no idea what it was, but I remember in big letters, it said, be your own boss and build your own business. And I said, I don't even know what this is, but I'm game. We're doing it. And it wasn't until someone sent me the link for my exam that I knew it was even insurance. That didn't concern me. All I knew is that I was going to be able to build something of my own. And that was the only thing I was interested in. And a year and a half later, here I am.
That's awesome. That's good stuff. That's a crazy story. And I'm sure you agree, this is a lot easier than navigating goat poop, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. So, what's been, I guess, if we look at the, say this year, what's been your best month as far as the number of families that you've helped?
Yeah, so I usually do an average of between 40 and 50. That's very consistent for me. It was not like that in the beginning. I definitely had to learn and had a lot of room to grow. My best month is 58 families.
Nice.
And I sit here after a year and a half and I think to myself, as I'm coming to the end of the year, there's no reason I'm not doing double that.
Yeah. No, 100%. Absolutely. And this is the best time to do it as well. Everybody's wants insurance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So perfect. So what I'm going to do, I want to jump into some questions because I really like to break down your business.
Yeah.
And so everyone can take from it what they can to implement in their business as well, and just kind of hear your perspective on things. So I always like to start with the beginning, right? So you're new to this. Did you have any type of sales experience before?
None at all.
Okay.
I didn't know anything about owning a business, insurance, sales, nothing. I knew nothing.
Okay. Brand new. And what would you say was one of your biggest struggles when you first got started a year and a half ago?
Yeah, this is my absolute favorite question. I love that you asked this. And my biggest struggle was this is not difficult to do. This is not rocket science. We're not over here solving equations. My biggest struggle was being consistent and accountable to myself. It was the first time in my life when no one was telling me when to get up and we go to school for 18 years, sometimes longer than that if we go to college. For the first time, no one was telling me when to get up and where to be. And that was the hardest thing for me to grasp, because it's not, if I had just right from the beginning worked the same hours that everyone else was working, oh my gosh, I would be in a totally different place. But I think that, and most people that I speak to, that's the most difficult thing, is we expect to work half as much and make twice as much.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense. So when did it click to you that, hey, I need to change my work ethic? How long did it take, would you say?
Yeah, I think for the first probably 6 to 8 months, I was spinning my wheels and writing just enough policies to pay my lead bill. And I would say, Jermaine or John or the people that I continuously talk to, why aren't I making any money? And they would say, well, let's look at how much you're working. And I would say, oh, I don't want to do that because I know I'm not working very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
So really it's not that you need to work 1,000 hours a week. It's really not. But if you're consistent every day, you're doing way better than 95% of the people in this business.
Yeah. Would you always, there's really no silver bullet to success, but in our business, it would be, in my opinion, fair to say that the secret or the silver bullet is just that consistent work ethic.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yes. And I wish that if I could take one thing that I wish I knew from day one, that would be it.
Yeah.
Is that you don't have to be good. This does not require skill. It does not require talent. But if you are just consistent every day and you don't stop, you're light years ahead.
Yeah, makes complete sense. Absolutely. That's the key to success. That's what helped me when I got started because I already had that rhythm of being my own boss with Uber and having to go turn on the app and hit the road to make money. And I just converted that same discipline to this business. And that's what helped me out the gate. And then you're right. That's where I see a lot of agents fail because they're not used to being their own boss and don't put that commitment in to show up to dial in the office or on Zoom, no matter what happened the last couple of days. You know what I mean?
And the couple of things for me is I'm really bad at working from home. I know that I'm really bad at working from home. So I found an office near my house, and it's not that near my house, right? Like I drive an hour twice a week to go to my office. But when you make the kind of deposits that we make, I'm good. I'll drive an hour. I'll drive however many hours you want me to. If you're telling me that I drive an hour, go put X amount of work in, and then get to go deposit, 5, 10 families every week.
Yeah.
There's no way that you would convince me that it's not worth it.
No, 100%. It's funny you say that because I remember I had one job where I drove, it was 2 hours one way to get to the job. Now that you said that, I'm like, man, what was I doing? But that prepared me because when it was time to drive an hour and 45 minutes to get to the Kennesaw office when I got started, there was no issue.
Yeah, right. So I think and as we're entering this world where we're starting to work from home and able to do everything over the phone, that's amazing. Just don't forget that being around people that are doing way better than you is really a big key.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. One of the other areas I see agents struggle with is investing in leads. So initially, were you apprehensive? What was your mindset there? And how did that change?
Of course I was. I'm no different than anyone else.
any?
I'm not special. I'm not that smart. I'm not, I'm not an anomaly. The only thing that separates me from anyone else on this call is that I'm consistent and I just don't stop.
Yeah.
And I was not confused. I said, I saw this business and I didn't know anything about it, but I was watching a bunch of videos and I came in and I talked to a couple people in the office as I was getting my license. And I said, there's no way that this many people are making this much money and it's not real, right? Like there's no way that if these guys can do it, then that I can't.
Yeah.
Of course, and like I said in the beginning, I didn't have a job for a year before I started this. I didn't have any money. I didn't have the ability to invest, a couple thousand in leads, but I took everything I had. My rent was due at the end of the month and I took basically all my rent money and someone in the Kennesaw office said, give it to me. And I said, what do you mean give it to you? And they said, give me all your money. And I said, okay. And they bought a bunch of leads and they said, here, go work these leads and write some policies. And it took me 2 weeks and I made, 3 times. I could pay my rent 3 times.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because you talk about the rent was due and you knew, hey, I was going to work and get it back. I was talking to an agent over the weekend and I was sharing one of the when I got started, it was kind of hand to mouth for me. Like, man, I was just like, whew, man, trying to get as many leads as I can and working hard. One of the things that changed my business was when I got a credit card. My credit was terrible when I got in this business. I mean, I was behind on my car payment. My mortgage was 2 months behind. So obviously the credit card that I did have wasn't getting paid. And so
You're
my
right.
credit was terrible, but I was able to I didn't pay off all my debt when I started getting paid. I was just paying my bills and reinvesting in the business. And sometimes I see agents do that. It's like, hey, I get a deposit. Let me go pay all my debt. Not smart. Wait a little bit until you have a steady cash flow and then you could do that. But when I was able to, I got a credit card and the most I could get approved for was $2,500. And what that enabled me to do was to be able to have something that I could put my leads on, because I know if I could do that, within a week to 2 weeks, I could pay it off completely because I was going to work my tail off.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that helped me kind of move my business forward, when I could have that card there and I could just put the leads on there and I knew, hey, go work within a week, if not less, I could pay it off. It was just tremendously helpful, but betting on myself helped. Go ahead.
I mean, that's why I got a card to put leads on, is because I heard that story from you. You were like, I didn't know what else to do. I didn't have any other money, but I knew that I could work. So I went and I got a credit card. They didn't give me any money, but I put what I could on it. And that's what changed it for me too, was being able to have that little bit of advance that I knew I got a month. I got 1 month to pay this off. And there's no way I'm not going to be able to make it back in a month unless I just sit and I don't do anything.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, 100%. And that's pretty much guaranteed. So when you look at where you started as far as investing in leads, if you could kind of guesstimate on average what you were spending in those first initial couple of months when you weren't working as much, compared to what you're investing now, what would that number be?
Yeah, I would say in the beginning, I spent, I don't know, 500 a week on leads. And that was getting me just enough to pay my lead bill.
Mm-hmm.
And not really be able to take anything home, not really be able to do even little things like having a Zoom subscription so I could be on Zoom longer than 40 minutes, or rent an office for a couple $100 a month. Like, it wasn't allowing me to do any of that until I got that card. I spend now an average of 2,000 to 2,500 every week. And if my business had the cash flow, I would spend 10,000 a week on leads, because I'm not confused that leads equal deposits.
No, 100%. And it's just investing that money and then putting in the work to flip it. So with that $2,000 to $2,500 a week investment, you're able to get out there and protect, 40 to 50 families. If, the average policy is $1,000, that's a great income and a great return on that investment. You know what I mean? So that's phenomenal. And obviously that's something you work your way up to over time as you gradually build your business. So that's good to see. Let's talk a little bit about lead strategy then, since we're talking about investing in leads. So when you started, what leads a year and a half ago, what were the leads that you were using at that point?
Yeah, you're asking all the good questions. So
that's why they pay me the big bucks, Meghan.
Yeah, right. That's why they pay you the big bucks. When I started, I thought, and again, I'm no different than anyone else. I was like, there's no way that these people are writing all this business every month. They must have some magic lead. They must have some magic script. There's got to be like a secret society somewhere, or a pill that somebody's taking that is allowing them to write all this business. And it's not. They just have way more leads. They had way more leads than I did. And it didn't matter where they came from, how old they are, how much they cost. That has nothing to do with it. So my view on leads is, I don't care where they come from. I don't care how old they are. I don't care how many people had them before me. If it's got a name and a phone number, I'm calling it. I'm using it. And it's unbelievable. I was taught to never toss a lead ever, unless they told me no on the phone and in person, right? Of course, if they don't have a phone number or an address, sure, whatever. But unless they tell me no on the phone and in person, I save that lead. Last week, I helped 7 families from leads that I had bought during a year and a half ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just going back through
4 appointments, 7 families helped from leads that I had purchased a year and a half ago that I just went back and recalled.
Yeah. That's powerful. It's funny because Cameron was telling me this morning, he's got like 3,000 leads since February when he got started, and he
Oh
was
my
starting to
God.
go back through some
That's
of them.
gold to me. That's gold to me.
Yep.
Is it going to take you longer to call them? Absolutely. But if you're not confused about what you're going to get out of it, who cares how long it takes to call them?
Yeah, no, 100%. That's money just sitting there. You know, you got to
Yeah.
mind that. You got to mine it.
You don't want to use them, Cameron? Give them to me. I'll use them.
Oh no, he's using them.
Sounds good, Megan. Sounds good.
So good stuff. So well, I want to jump in a little bit of phone script, but I want to ask you something when it comes to training, because you know, if from our vantage point, with you being an agency owner as well, building an agency, and myself, we get to kind of see, you know, what everybody, you know, what everybody does right, what everybody does wrong, you know, what the people who are successful do versus what the people who are not successful. One of the areas I see agents mess up is not, you know, educating themselves. And I'm not talking about going to college or whatever. I'm talking about educating themselves, training in this business. So what was that like for you? What did you do when you got started to be able to educate yourself and be able to, you know, especially not having any experience?
Right, right. So one of the big things for me is when I started, I did all of my business in person, and I spent a lot of time in the car. So while I was in the car, or even now at home, when, I mean, new stuff comes out all the time, like I'm not, that this is what's required of me if I want to be really good and I want to be able to help families better than any other agent. So that's the thing about me, is I, with all of my heart, believe that there's no better agent to sit down with than me. I truly, with everything I have, believe that no one's going to do for your family what I will. And it's not about the price of what I have. It's you get me
Yeah.
along with your policy. And that's the most important thing. So what I did is I mean, and that's the job of the carrier. So I sit there and I called the carriers and I would say, hey, here's my writing number. What am I authorized to sell? Teach me everything about it. That's literally their job. They want you to sell their product. So they will sit there on the phone as long as you want and talk to you about everything that they have, what it does, who qualifies, how much it costs, what situations it's good for, and they will teach you everything there is to know. So that's how I learned. I got on the phone with the carriers and I talked to them directly. Every time I had an hour drive or a 45-minute drive or on my way home or whatever, I would call and I would say, hey, here's my writing number. Teach me everything about what I'm authorized to sell.
Yep. And you know, there's so many agents that don't do that. You know, I've had agents call me in the house and they're like, yeah, how do I find the quoting tool and how do I access the application? Like, come on now, you're a business owner now. Step up, reach out. So I'm glad you mentioned that. And are there any FFL producers that are like your top favorite? Like if you know, had to put like either your top 3 or top 5 that you would recommend agents to watch?
Yeah, so I would say I have a couple in a couple of different areas. So my top aspiring, like I'm coming for you guy, it's going to be Steve Giordano. He's #1 producer in the company, you know, always #1, #2, along with Shadi. So the guys that are just the agents, the men and women that are like so at the top of the totem pole for me. I love to live at the bottom of the totem pole. So I like to be the one in the room that is the newest, the most inexperienced, knows the least. Because my goal is to surround myself with people that are so much smarter and so much more accomplished than I am, because it makes me work harder.
Yeah.
And people that have built really big businesses. John Wetmore is someone that I watch a lot. Zach Twardowski, you know, Grady Paulson. Those are all people that have done things that I want to accomplish.
Makes sense. Perfect. Yeah, those are some of my top favorites as well. And it's just taking that initiative to do the research. And to me, I've always, I don't know if you have you seen the movie The Matrix?
I have.
Yeah. What do you think of the movie, first of all?
I thought it was kind of weird.
It is kind of weird. But what I like about the movie the most is the part where Neo they're able to basically download information. Like he needed to know how to fly a helicopter or do some type of martial arts.
Yeah.
And they literally just uploaded the information into his brain. That's what the training is to me. And I'm constantly always looking at, okay, what don't I know? What don't I feel confident in? And then I'll go to YouTube University and I'll type in FFL phone script or FFL in-home or FFL leads or whatever it is, whatever aspect of the business that I don't feel confident in. And I'm downloading that information from somebody who knows it. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it does. And it's not, and sometimes I don't know what I don't know. Like I don't know what they're going to talk about on a call, but I'm always tuning in. Like one of the best things I ever did is I have a brand new TV in my house that I never turn on anymore. It's just not necessary.
Yeah.
I'd rather put something on my phone, and while I'm doing the dishes or doing laundry, I'm listening to a training instead of the radio, or just having it constantly on in the background. I'm always picking up things that I wouldn't have known if I didn't turn it on.
100%. And that's so powerful. So awesome. Good stuff. So I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit because
Okay.
I want to hear your phone script. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna jump into the CRM here, and I want you to just kind of run through your introduction because
Yeah.
pretty much, phone script is no matter what lead you dial, it's pretty much going to be the same thing at the end as far as tying down the appointment, right?
Yeah.
The only thing that may be different is probably the front end based on the lead type. Is that about right?
Yeah. I mean, my phone script is pretty much the same regardless, minus a few words.
Okay, perfect. So we're not going to role play. I just want you to like run through it.
Yeah.
And let's start with an internet lead. If you're calling an internet lead, what are you saying on the phone?
Yeah. I say, hey, Jermaine, this is Megan. I'm the one that got the form you filled out online about your insurance. I'm the manager of Stockbridge. I saw that no one had ever reached out to you. I'm really sorry, but I'm doing it. You got flagged as incomplete, so I'm going to take care of it for you. You're still over there on Pearson Road, right?
Mhm.
Perfect. All right. Excellent. I'm totally booked today, but I'm looking at my schedule tomorrow. Are you working or are you retired?
Retired.
Excellent. Okay. I have an opening either at 11 or at 1 p.m., which is better for you.
11.
Perfect. And is there anyone else that lives in the house with you?
Yeah, my wife,
Excellent. What's her name?
Tanika.
Is she home at 11 as well?
Yeah, we're both retired.
That's wonderful. Okay, so my name is Megan. I've got brown hair. I stand about 5'5". What we'll do, it'll take us about 15, 20 minutes. I will take care of this request for you. We'll figure out what you qualify for and make sure you can get approved. And I'll see you tomorrow between 11, 11:15. Just give me a little leeway.
Perfect. Good stuff. Nice and easy. Let's say you're calling a mortgage protection lead. What does that sound like?
Yeah. Hey, Jermaine, this is Megan. I'm the one that got the form you filled out about your mortgage protection. You did it about 2 weeks ago. You remember doing that?
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm the one in charge of Stockbridge. So I'm the one that takes care of figuring out what you qualify for and making sure you can get approved. Who else lives in the house with you?
My wife, Tanika.
Excellent. All right. So I am looking at my schedule. I'm totally booked today, but I'm looking at tomorrow. Are you guys working or are you retired?
Retired.
Perfect. I have an opening at either 11 or 1 p.m. I need both of you guys to be home. Which one is better for you?
1 p.m. works.
Perfect. I'm Megan. I've got brown hair. I stand about 5'5". You'll know it's me. It'll take us about 15, 20 minutes to figure out what you qualify for and make sure you can get approved.
Perfect. So you guys get the point, right? Same script, different lead, same script. in control of the conversation. No doubt the confidence is there and that developed. Were you this confident when you got started?
100% no. I had no idea what I was doing when I just started. All I knew is that if I could fake it, then I would be fine. Right. And I didn't really care what so I think I was a plus that I had is I don't really take a lot personally. I tend to shove things just way down. So as long as I'm not taking it personally, I don't really care what they say or how they respond. They're either going to say yes or they're going to say no. I'm not going to beg anyone to do anything. You either need my help or you don't. And if you don't, that's fine. My goal is to have so many other people to call that it doesn't really matter what you say.
Amen to that. So then that leads me to the next question. If you're calling, let's say, an internet lead and it's like, yeah, I don't remember filling that out. What's your response?
That's totally fine. You got flagged as incomplete. My job is to make sure I figure out what you qualify for and make sure you can get approved.
Perfect. Nice and easy, just like that. Acknowledge it. That's totally fine. And then go right back to what your job is.
Yeah.
Very simple. Overall, from a mindset standpoint for new agents, right? Because I think this is one of the areas that new agents kind of freak out the most about. So what can you say to kind of give them some guidance, give them some perspective on what the mindset should be when they're picking
Yeah.
up the phone?
I would say nobody is confused. It's never going to be perfect overnight, and that's okay. I would ask you to think back about your first job or your most recent job when you walked in on day one or your first month. You had no idea what you were doing, but you learned, right? You kept going back every day, every shift that you were scheduled, and eventually you knew what you were doing. And eventually people started asking you questions and looking to you for information. This is no different. The only difference is no one's telling you when to clock in and when to clock out. That's on you. So if you come back and you do this every day, in the beginning, you're going to have no idea what you're doing, and that's fine. But if you keep logging onto the calls and you keep buying the leads and you keep dialing, eventually people are going to be like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? How can I learn from you?
Yeah, no, 100%. And then when it comes to, obviously you booked the appointment, you got to get out there. So let me ask you, from a number of lead standpoint and number of appointments per week, what are those numbers, and what are you training agents on?
Yeah. So every time I sit down to dial, I have at least 150 to 200 leads. Like, I do not ever do anything less than that. I don't care how old they are. I don't care where they come from, but I've got at least probably closer to 200. And I dial twice a week. I dial on Mondays and I dial on Thursdays. And I'm looking to book 30 to 40 appointments every week. And then, again, I do most of my business in person. If I'm doing a week where I'm doing over the phone, I do over the phone too. My appointments are double that.
Yeah.
So whatever I do in person, if you're doing over the phone, you need to double it. So if I see 40 appointments every week in person and you're doing over the phone, you need 80. Just because it's easier for people to not pick up or to hang up or whatever. And it's not bad, it's just different.
Yeah, no, 100%. We said number of leads, and then appointment wise, 30 to 40 appointments per week. Perfect.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about in-home, right? From a structure standpoint, because that's the most important part of in-home. So how do you structure your in-home presentation when you get in there and be able to kind of set it up?
So my in-homes, again, they did not start like this. My in-homes, I'm in and out in a half hour. I'm not confused about why I'm there. I'm there to get you a policy. So when I walk in the house, I'm like, hey, how you doing? Great neighborhood. How long you been here? That's probably the extent of my rapport. I get to know a little bit about them. I sit down, I'm like, all right, so we need to get you some insurance, right? Whether it's life insurance, final expense, mortgage, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what kind of lead I have, doesn't matter why I'm there. All right, we got to get you some insurance, right? So they already know the second I sit down, we're getting insurance today. Yeah, we got to get some insurance. Perfect. How this is going to work, I'm going to get to know you a little bit. I'm going to figure out what you qualify for. I'll do all the research and look at all the different companies. We'll pick a plan together. And the most important thing we'll do is submit an application to make sure we can get approved. Like, that's literally verbatim what I say in the house. And if they say anything other than, yeah, that sounds good, I know how to deal with it then, right? If they're like, oh, I don't want to do an application today, well, then I just start asking questions. Okay, what do you mean? How long you been looking for this? When you filled this out, when we talked yesterday on the phone and I told you my job was to get you approved, what did you think we were doing? Why are we here? And sometimes they're not trying to get a policy today, and that's fine. I got 10 other people I need to see. Or sometimes I just need to make sure they know who I am, see my license, etc. But all that is said in the first 30 seconds of me sitting down. So nobody's confused on what we're doing when I sit down.
Makes sense. And it's funny, we used to put it this way. It's like, tell them what you're going to do and then do it. That's as simple as an in-home is, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you did there.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we're gonna do. Let's do it. And then address any questions that they have around that. So when it comes to how you do your finding the why, what are some of those questions that you dig in on, and how do you address that?
And that's where I spend the most time, just because my dad passed unexpectedly a couple of years ago. So I
Oh man,
know
sorry to
how
hear
this
that.
goes. Yeah, I know exactly what it means when someone dies unexpectedly and they aren't prepared, and the bank doesn't care. They want their money. And the rent company doesn't care. They want their money, or, bills need to be paid. So this isn't, I'm not confused about how important this is. But when I talk about the why, I don't just say, why am I here? Why do we need life insurance? That's not, I know why I'm there. I'm there because they filled out a form, because if somebody dies, that family's in trouble. You know why you're in the house.
Yeah.
They need to explain out loud why you're there, so they understand why they need it, because this is not, when's a good time to add another bill? Never. Nobody ever wants to add another bill. This is not another bill. This is, I need to make sure my family's going to be okay. So I ask things like, if something happened to you yesterday, who's in charge? I want to know who's making the decisions. Oh, your daughter, Jessica, I want to know how old she is. Where does she live? Is she working? What kind of job does she have? Is she going to have to take time off of work? Is she going to have to buy a flight? Are her kids in school? Is she going to have to hire a babysitter? I mean, what kind of expenses are coming with her having to make your decisions?
Yeah.
Her having to bury you? Is she gonna have to hire movers, cleaners? What's going on with the house? Who's paying your rent? Who's moving all the stuff out? So I mean, I ask a lot of questions,
Yeah.
and I don't do a lot of talking. I don't do a lot of, I'm just asking because I genuinely want to know what's going on in the family.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because as you're saying that, it's just bringing the image of like a consultant, like a coordinator, where you're truly helping them plan and prepare for when that day comes, because it has to come for all of us, right?
Yeah.
And you come off as genuinely wanting to help them. And I think that's one of the secret to what we do. If you generally care about people and you empathize with, what they are gonna go through and what their family are gonna go through, and you present yourself as the one to solve that problem because like you said, you're the best to be able to help them, then the rest is history. And I think that's like the secret sauce of what we do. So that's awesome to kind of hear you verbalize that. And that's what it's all about, when we get started or continue our career. It's like, hey, focus on the family, putting them first and putting yourself in their shoes if that were to happen. And you have the real life experience of it, so you can relate a lot to that. When it comes to underwriting, any tips for agents when it comes to underwriting and making sure you get policies approved and not declined?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is the best one. So I carry those grids. You guys have those. You guys use those grids too, and it tells you every single ailment that ever exists and what company approves it. And I have those right out on the table. Now I've been doing this a year and a half. Some of them I know, but I'm flipping through those grids and making sure I'm picking the right one. Or I pick up the phone and I call Jermaine or someone out, or say, hey, I've got this medication I've never heard of. And you know what? What I've learned in my year and a half is the client has no idea what's the correct or not correct process. So they don't know. I don't know anything. If I'm looking through this chart, they don't know that me picking up the phone to call someone isn't normal. They have no idea and they don't care. So if you're not calling or you're not looking through your chart because you think it's going to make you look dumb or like you don't know anything, the client has no idea. So it doesn't matter what you do. But that's what I use for underwriting. I use my charts religiously in every single appointment and I look through them. Okay, you told me you have diabetes. Let me go down to the diabetes thing. Are you taking any insulin? Or, and it tells me exactly what questions to ask.
Yeah, no, 100%. Nice and easy, nice and simple. And you learn it as you go through it.
Yeah.
And as you go. So good stuff. When it comes to presenting options. I know a lot of us do top-down sales. So when you're showing options to the client, how are you doing that? You giving them 2 options, 3 options? What does that look
Yeah,
like?
so sometimes we have clients that have many options available to them. They might qualify for many different companies, many different products. They did not call me into their house to confuse them. A confused client does nothing. Me, I think of myself as the doctor. I am prescribing what's right for your family. And that's why I ask all those questions. I want to know who's around, what the financial situation is like, how long we're around. So I ask those questions to really get to know your family, because it's my job to tell you what company and what product is best for you. Your only job as the client is to figure out how much coverage we can afford.
Yeah.
So I've already picked the company. I've already picked the product. I'm then going to give you 3 coverage options. I'm going to give you the absolute most we can get, regardless of what that is. I don't care if it's $3,000 a month or whatever. I want you to know the most we can get. And then I want 2 options that are more realistic for you.
Makes
And then
sense.
you get to pick.
Yeah.
It's not my job to judge your wallet. It's
Yeah.
not my job to judge how important this is for you. I have some clients that have moved things around and they've dropped a cable bill, or they stopped going out to eat because this was more important. But if I hadn't shown them what was available to them, they would have never picked it, or they might have dropped me as an agent and gone with someone else where they could get more coverage. It's not my job to judge your wallet. It's my job to show you what you can get and what I recommend.
Yeah.
For you based on what you've told me.
Makes sense. It's funny you say that, because I was reminded of that the other day when I helped a client with a policy, and I judged her wallet myself, and I gave her not the maximum option, and she went with it, and then she got approved, and she's like, hey, by the way, can I increase this? And I was like, yeah, we could go up to about this much. She's like, oh, okay, how soon can I do that? I'm like, we could do it today. She's like, yeah, can we do that? And it was $100 more per month, and I was like, dummy, if you had only shown it to her, if you had shown it to her, she would have taken it. And sometimes we feel that, like, oh man, this might be a little bit too much, especially when you're getting started and you can't afford that premium. You just don't know what is a priority for the client. So that's a very good point. Show them the maximum amount, and then a couple other options, and then let them decide. That's powerful. Appreciate you sharing that. Good stuff. So let me ask you this: on the back end, of course, we write these policies. We want to make sure these policies stay on the book. So what are some of the things that you say in the home or do after as follow-up to ensure that your clients stick with you till death do us part, so to speak?
Yeah. And I have talked to a ton of different people. In the beginning, I was like, oh my God, all these policies are canceling. I have all these chargebacks. I don't know what to do. I'm not making any money. Well, really, doesn't, like 30% of your business falls off no matter what you do. And I just didn't realize that was 30% of my business, right?
Yeah.
So I have learned that you have a little bit of wiggle room, but it is what it is. And as long as you're consistent and you continue writing policies, you're not gonna pay attention to what cancels. Certainly I try and help and make sure that everyone is okay. I'm a caring person and I care about my clients, but at the end of every appointment, I say, all right, Jermaine, what this means, you've gotten approved. Congratulations. What this means is you and I are stuck together until one of us leaves this earth. Okay. You need anything, we need to make a change. You call me, and I have them program my cell phone number in their phone. Okay. After, I always call them. I always have a reminder to call them about 2 weeks later to make sure they got their policy in the mail. And then after that, I check in once a year. I keep every policy I've ever written in an Excel spreadsheet. I update it every Sunday for the policies I wrote that week. And I check in, hey, Jermaine, how you doing? Just making sure everything is good. Is there anyone else that needs my help? And when I do that, I find that I start writing a lot more business, because they're like, oh, Megan, yeah, I've been meaning to call you. Can you come out and help my sister? Or, we need to up my coverage a little bit, or I want to change the payment date, or I want to. So, I have some agents that write birthday cards and do the whole thing. You certainly can. I could be better. I don't do that, but I check in to make sure your policy arrived. I have your cell phone number is programmed to my phone and mine's in yours. And then I check in once a year to make sure you're okay.
Good stuff. That's awesome, man. So I appreciate you sharing so candidly. Is there anything else that you think is important for everyone on this call to hear from you with what you've experienced over the last year and a half in business?
Yeah. The most important thing I can tell you is whether you're new or whether you've gotten comfortable where you are, is consistency is the most important thing that you'll ever do. And that's something that I wish I knew when I had first started, instead of having a really good week and saying, oh, I can take some time off, or getting frustrated because I didn't have a good week. Being consistent is your biggest weapon.
Yeah. Powerful. Well, on that note, we're going to consistently continue to dial after this call. Meghan, thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing. You guys could connect with her on Facebook and Instagram, I believe. You're on both.
I'm going to tell you my cell phone number in the chat, just
Perfect, yeah.
so you have it as a resource. My favorite thing is when my phone rings all day. So you're welcome to use it or not if it costs you.
Perfect, Meghan. Appreciate it. Thanks for hopping on. Thanks for sharing with us today, guys. That's a wrap. I do want to share one thing with you guys. I was at a conference, and I'm going to share this real quick so we can wrap it up and get back to dialing. But I was at a conference this weekend. It was an entrepreneurship conference. Ed Milet, he wrote this book called The Power of One More, and The Ultimate Guide to Happiness and Success. Really great book. He has an insurance background, by the way, but one of the things he said was, 6 things that successful people have. One is they believe they deserve it. And I've always believed that. You heard Meghan mention that. It's like, hey, nobody's better than me. I'm willing to put in the work to get what I want out of life. 2, he says, the fear of not achieving potential. This one hit home with me. And it's like, I always constantly want to be better. And you should too. And the way he put it, he says, I'm addicted to the expansion of my being. It's like, I'm addicted to becoming the best version of myself, no matter what I'm doing, whether it's in business or personal life. He said the third thing is emotional control, right? As a successful person, you have to be able to control your emotions and not be affected externally by things. And then this one we don't think about a lot, but successful people visualize. They visualize, what they want in life, and that way they can go after it and not just what they're worried about. And then finally is live with intention. So believe you deserve it. Have a fear of not achieving your potential. Control your emotions, visualize what you want, and then live with intention. So I thought that was pretty powerful. And so I'll leave you guys with that, and we'll be continuing the dial. Thanks again, Meghan.
Thanks, Meg.
So with that client being 5 years removed from cancer, it's definitely going to be final expense. And what you'll see is most final expense companies will cover as long as it hasn't been within the last 2 years. So you could look at both of these grids offline and be able to just verify that information, since they won't open up because of my internet connection. So, but great question. Utilize those grids. They're going to give you some guidance, point you in the right direction. If you need clarification, then reach out to us. So guys, I'm excited about what we have going on. I'm excited to see all the new faces and agents getting going in the process. I will say this, and then we could finish up, and we're going to continue down. But there's this phrase, I mentioned it to somebody recently on a recruiting call, where if it's up to be, it's up to me. And for me, what that means is that I'm not going to sit back and wait for anybody to, tell me what I need to do in my own business to be successful. I'm going to be on offense. This business is an offensive game. It's not a defensive game. You can't sit back and expect to figure things out. You have to be on the offense. You have to be saying, okay, what additional information do I need to know if I feel like I'm lacking information? Or what steps do I need to take? What action steps I need to take? And if you're not sure, ask, reach out. And ask for help, and make sure you know everything you need to know. One of the areas that I see agents are missing currently from the conversations I've had over the last few weeks is, one, making sure that you're prepared as a new agent, especially, but even as a current agent, with knowing, okay, how do I run a quote? what products I have available through that insurance company, and how do I complete an e-application. That's something that you have to take the initiative and inquire about yourself, so that way you know exactly what to do, and you can do that directly with the insurance companies. When it comes to that sales process support, when it comes to applications and quotes, the insurance carriers always have their sales team on call, so you could call them, reach out, and get some help. So just make sure you're on the offense, make sure you're being proactive, not just sitting back and waiting. The other one, I'll say this one lastly, is you're waiting for the carriers to approve you. No, call them. Hey, I submitted my appointment request with you guys. It's been 2 days, it's been 3 days. Hey, can you get this pushed through? I have pending business. I'd love to get some clients protected. What can we do to get this pushed through? So yeah, Alejandro, it is, if it's up to be, it's up to me. Take full responsibility for what's happening in your business, and let's go after it. If you need any help, reach out. Appreciate you guys hopping on this call.